The critique has been stinging over the past 24 hours, 48 hours now since the announcement that he's considering running as an independent. Do you think it's a realistic approach?
I think it's a mistake. As on this show, I told you guys 8 months ago that I was certain he was going to run, but I thought he was going to run as a Democrat. It seems to make a lot more sense that he be housed in a party. It didn't work for Teddy Roosevelt and Millard Fillmore and others who actually had been president and tried to cut their own path as an independent. And I've seen the arguments, of some who argue that, well, if it's cutting down the center, it's a different kind of third party. No, I mean, Howard, he has a lot of the great qualities of mythic American folk heroes, of business folk heroes. He's feisty and obviously a self-made person. You know, the log cabin heritage everybody likes to claim. It's the real deal with him coming up from poverty in a public housing project. And he's gone through adversity in his life, his disruptive vision, incredible communicator like Jamie Dimon and some others who are really gifted communicators. And I think it's a very positive message he brings. However, the messages are always defined by Howard. He doesn't have very many CEO opinion leaders following him, or, he can rouse a crowd up pretty well. But when he gets caught up on an issue, whether or not it's on race relations and trying to get baristas to put little bon mots on a coffee cup to tell us how to guide ethnic strife or whatever it is, or environmental issues or hiring veterans, it's sort of a theme of the day. He loses interest in it. It's kind of peripatetic. And he doesn't follow anybody else's cause. Was he at the front lines after Charlottesville with Ken Fraser? No. On the Religious Freedom Acts, the bathroom bill things, that was Randall Stevenson of AT&T and the CEOs of Walmart and UPS and others. Where's Howard? If he's not leading it in the vanguard himself, he doesn't join anybody else's on major business causes and the rest. And I just think it's that independent streak has made him a successful entrepreneur, but it'll also derail his career as a politician.
Let me ask you the flip side of this. Two things. One is, if he were to run as a Democrat, and by the way, I asked him multiple times last night if there was a possibility that he could run as a Democrat. No, and there were people in the audience even who were asking him what it would take to convince him to run as a Democrat. Do you think that would be a successful path, given the way it feels like that party has moved?
That'd be very successful. I mean, I think Michael Bloomberg or Joe Biden going in as a Democrat would blow him away. Of course, Michael Bloomberg has more than 10 times the wealth of Howard Schultz. It's, Howard's wealthier than perhaps we are all together combined, but and Howard has twice the wealth of President Trump. But Michael Bloomberg has so much more, and Joe Biden has so much more grassroots support as a Democrat. But I think Howard would do very well. But to write off the Democratic Party as being the fringe, we've been using the wrong term. I don't know where the historians are to correct us. For the last 18 months, they're not progressives. They're Democrat socialists. We're talking about Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. Maybe they don't like the socialist label. That's what they are. They should be proud of it. Progressives were Republicans throughout our history. Bob La Follette, Teddy Roosevelt, they were Republicans. They were building dams, environmentalists, concerned about workplace safety. Thus was the progressive center of the Republican Party, and that's what Howard should go for that exists in the Democratic Party. That they're genuine progressives, not the fringe Democrat socialists. When you take a look at the surveys, it's only 50% of the population wants free education, and let's not say that most of the Democratic Party is not screaming for it. I'm in that business. We'd love to have everybody get 4 years of college education free. There'd be a lot of professor jobs.
Jeff, do you think that Howard Schultz's move to get into this race, even though he hasn't officially declared, and by the way, it's very possible over the next 3 months as he crisscrosses the country that he could decide he doesn't want to do this, but whether this would push either a Biden or a Bloomberg from declaring their candidacy?
No, I think it would motivate them to try to reclaim what the Democratic Party truly stands for and not to yield it. It's true that we have 7 or 8 and possibly 10 candidates that are fighting for that Democratic socialist space. They divide that vote up as Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and others carve up that space. That leaves the traditional Democratic Party right there in the center, and Joe Biden would do very well with that. Joe Biden has much deeper anchors in South Carolina and on civil rights issues and an awful lot of traditional bases that he would blow Howard Schultz out of the water. But it would be great to see that fight, and it would change the locus of the conversation. I mean, this free education thing. Where in the world does it come from? And that Bernie Sanders was looking for a cause. How is that a panacea for any of the world's problems? Again, unless you're a college professor, I don't see how that's a solution. Maybe vocational training and things like that. But it's strange how they've gone down that path. And I do think that Howard likes to define the issues around himself. He's not a joiner. He's a great leader. He needs to join with others or it's not going to get off the ground. Boy, you probably saw the hate mail that I've gotten from CEOs, traditional progressive-minded centrist CEOs are just outraged. They think it's just so foolish and so egomaniacal to do it. I sent Howard some notes to this effect last night with some of those quotes, and he's not responded to me.
Okay.